Hi class, today we're going to begin talking about our last week, which is Module 4, and the topic for this week is going to be social media metrics and how we measure our social media. Now, when we hear the word metrics, a lot of people get very nervous or anxious because, we're being held accountable for our social media that we've been working on, and we work very hard on social media. I know that the last couple of weeks you guys have been putting in a lot of hours, listening, planning and creating and distributing social media via your calendars and such. And whenever you add the word metrics or measurement onto something that you really work hard for, it is, it can be anxiety driven. But one of the great things about metrics is also it helps us prove to our upper management that the work we're working so hard on and so diligently for is actually achieving our goals. And so that's the exciting part of it. And we really should not be afraid by the word metrics. And the next couple of presentations, we're going to conquer this and talk about different ways to measure social media. So when we go back to this iceberg that we started with in week 1, we look at social media platforms at the top of the iceberg, and then everything else that we've been working on for the last couple of weeks, researching hashtags, creating content strategy, content creation, the analysis of who is the organization, what are we trying to achieve, and what is the return on investment? Because as we talked about before, social media and working with others within your company or corporation, it takes a lot of resources, takes a lot of time and effort. So, we want to measure our social media goals with objectives. And so that's what we're going to start looking at now. So social media supports other goals within your company. So using social media, which of the higher level goals are you trying to support? So here's some ideas. You can tie your social media into innovation and collaboration. So a good example of this might be whenever Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts has a new coffee flavor and they put a quiz online. And in fact, I think Dunkin' Donuts just rolled out 3 new types of coffees based on Girl Scout cookies. And so they did a lot of audience research and a lot of social media listening before they did this. And so you can use your own social media for your company and tie it into innovation and collaboration. We're working with the marketing people on introducing a new type of product. We're, sampling our audiences via Twitter. Brand health. I think as communicators and PR specialists, we've always been in charge of the brand. We always are trying to measure the brand, whether it be through one-on-one conversations, but social media, we can tie it into our brand health. We hear conversations through the listening page. We engage with our customers. And another thing is we can actually see as crises evolve, we can respond to a crisis much more quickly via social media. So, we are responding to brand health and responding to crises before they get out of control. Of course, social media can be tied into marketing optimization. So we look at a program, and because of social media, the engagement is probably higher via students or via customers. And we can have immediate conversations with our customers. A Facebook post or a Facebook blog versus a billboard. I mean, there's really no comparison. Facebook and Twitter and Instagram can be more of an immediate conversation. So we are actually optimizing our market by having social media. Revenue generation. So of course, we want to have our social media. A lot of times, if you are on the marketing side, we have customized landing pages. On those pages, we have call to actions, either apply to school, apply to receive information, sign up to receive more information, sign up to be part of the newsletter. And then we want to find out if these landing pages, then clicking to conversions, we have a direct line from social media to the website where the specialized landing pages, are we getting leads from there? And if we're getting leads, then does it equate to sales? Or if we get leads for higher education, is it equating to an application? So we can tie social media right into the money, so the revenue generation. Another thing that I touched on a couple seconds ago is reducing expenses. With the advent of social media, We can talk to our students quicker. We can talk to our customers quicker. So we can resolve a lot of things that maybe before would have been a phone call, 3 or 4 phone calls, an email, maybe would have made, had students come into your office to talk about a class they wanted to take. All this now can be done through social media, which is really excellent. But a word of caution, we need to also, if there are questions or concerns, we need to be able to respond to them quickly. And that's one thing with social media, even though it offers a lot of opportunities to answer people, we need to make sure we're monitoring all our different platforms so that we are responding in a timely fashion. And of course, just, building off that is the customer experience, the ability to listen and create better customer service, which social media allows us to do. So each social media platform has its own goals, measurement tools, and we can tie these goals right into, higher level goals that the management has. And therefore, we're adding to the bottom line, which is really, one of our goals within nonprofit and for-profit work. So this is a really good chart because we're going to talk about numbers in a minute, but if you're not one of those people that, really enjoy the more numeric evaluations and measurement tools, there's a lot to be said for qualitative results. So if we go back to what we talked about a while ago, our inform, inspire, and engage phases, and then we looked at the things that we actually try to measure, either quantitatively or qualitatively, the activities, the things they're initiating, the number of posts, the updates, the comments. When it's more interactive, the social media-based exchanges with the audience, what's the customer sentiment? What is the learning? What is the buzz? And then, of course, the bottom line, which is probably your boss's favorite line, the financial returns, the return on investment, the leads and sales. This is another way of looking at social media metrics, more of a qualitative approach, which is just as important, I believe, as a quantitative approach, and can be used hand in hand when, talking to your boss or senior management about the way that social media contributes to the bottom line. So when we try to break down the levels of metrics, the impact is stronger. So if you need to make a case to hire a social media personnel, or you want to get a social media tool that does measurements like Hootsuite, or a social media tool like Meltwater, where you have pitching ability, but also social media posting ability and metrics generated from that, then this is the kind of data you can use to go back to them and say, I have quantitative results and I also have qualitative results. And together is a very strong message for you, and it helps you position yourself in order to get the resources that you need to take the next step. So with social media and PR, of course, this is just another way of looking at this chart. We have high level impact, the leads, the sales registrations, crisis mitigation, sentiment, reputation, and then the low to mid level, the fans, the followers. All this stuff is very important when we talk about social media metrics. So of course, as we start a measurement process, usually when you go to a job, I know when I first took this job at Rutgers, the first thing I did was some benchmarking, and I benchmark all of our social media platforms, where we were the day I started, and then, it's nice to look at it year after year to see how much we've grown, not only so much the followers and such, but just the engagement and the improvement. And I can tie that type of engagement to the recruitment process, to the number of students that applied, to the number of applications we've generated, to the number of students that actually end up taking classes. So that's exciting. But, some words of caution. I work in higher ed and it's nonprofit, but many of you, I would think the majority of you probably work in the for-profit world. So when you measure and you benchmark and you continue to do that over the years, in order to add validity to the work you're doing, we want to make sure we're measuring apples to apples and measuring against our competitors, and that's one thing that, higher ed might be a little bit behind on, is measuring against our competitors. And we want to know exactly when we end up reporting out to our boss, like how does our boss or how does upper management like to receive their data? Are they more of a chart and graph type of person? Are they very visual, or do they want to see the numbers? And so we have to make sure that we report out correctly using the right tools in order to make the biggest impact. And I think after a while you get to know how your boss reacts to the types of reporting methods, and then you can, maybe do both. And, some people are more visual than others. And my last slide for today talks about being accountable. Now, accountability is extremely important. And I think one thing as social media um, professionals we can do to help our accountability is to work with other parts of the organization, right? And then use other data sets to help with our social media metrics because sometimes, we're going to run a campaign that's not going to go as well as we thought it did. But there's always something to gain from different campaigns. So I work very closely with IT and I use web analytics, website activity. And I can show that the campaigns we've run, that there is activity on the website. Maybe our customers or our students don't take that next step, which would be to apply, or maybe they just download, a PDF that talks about the classes they're going to take or the program they want to be involved in, but they're not making that apply yet. There's something holding them back. And so I can use my data set with Google Analytics and the web team to talk about, well, at least they're getting to the website. Now, when they get to the website, they may not be getting the information that they need. That's another issue. Or they may not be able to make that fiscal commitment yet, which is also a big issue in higher ed and everywhere else as well. So, but working with other teams is very helpful. If you're on the for-profit side, sales team, does the work that you're doing actually lead to leads, gaining leads, and then leading to a conversion to sales? That's the bottom line. If you can prove that within your metrics using quantitative and qualitative data, that's wonderful. And then customer satisfaction, this is more on the qualitative side. Using social media, we're able to answer customers more quickly and hopefully more thoroughly. At least get them a response, and then maybe moving them on the pipeline to a different person that can answer their questions completely. But customer satisfaction can be tied into social media and the upper level goals. So, even if something isn't even if the metrics aren't showing exactly what you hope they would be showing, you can come back to some of these other areas, working with other departments within your company or customer satisfaction. Your job ultimately is to prove value through social media. And setting up the measurement program and tying it back to the higher level goals, once you can do that and show that you're working on that and achieving it, you will receive a higher level of support from management. Now, going back to the beginning of the conversation today, it really isn't scary when you break it down like this. And hopefully you're able to educate your boss or your upper management about the vital importance of social media. And it does add complexity because now we're measuring it. And so there's lots to discuss on that point, but I do think that there's extreme validity to measuring our social media efforts and then trying to improve them, because if you don't measure, you don't know how you're doing. And if you don't know how you're doing, then you have to really think about why you're actually, in this social media world. So you definitely got to measure, you got to take that first step, and we're going to talk more about that this week. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know. You know how to reach me. Thank you very much.